Well, good morning, good morning, good morning, world. How are you today? Y'all doing all right? Everything good? Are you in there? Are you happening? Are you peaceful? COVID environment, lots going on in the world. We got a great show today. Hopefully we can get right on into it. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. Tell your friends, get in there. How's your day going? How's your family? Everybody good? Yeah, that's right. Keep your head up. Keep your head to the sky. It's going to be all right. Well, we've got a lot to cover today in our time together, so let's get right to the headlines this morning. The city of Louisville will pay millions to the mother of Breonna Taylor and reform police practices as a part of a lawsuit settlement months after Taylor's slaying by police thrust the Black woman's name to the forefront of a national reckoning on race. A person who has seen the settlement told the Associated Press today that it would be the largest sum paid by the city for a police misconduct case. The source asked not to be identified because the settlement has not been announced publicly. Now, if they could just arrest the killers, say her name, Breonna Taylor. Trump is in California, or he was in California, and he again touted his unfounded claim that failure to rake forest floors and clear dead timber is mostly to blame for the fires. When the Natural Resources Agency Secretary Wade Crowfoot urged the president to recognize the changing climate and what it means to our forests, Trump responded, "It will start getting cooler. Just you watch." Crowfoot politely pushed back that he wished the science agreed with the president, and Trump countered, "I don't think science knows, actually." Democratic challenger Joe Biden, for his part, said in a speech that the destruction and mounting death toll across California, Oregon, and Washington required stronger presidential leadership, and he labeled Trump a climate arsonist. Meanwhile, down south, a powerful but plodding Hurricane Sally is crawling across the northern Gulf Coast. Rain from the storm's outer bands was pummeling northwest Florida early today, and Governor Ron DeSantis declared an emergency in 2 western panhandle counties. The storm's slow movement is raising concerns of extreme rainfall and flooding. President Trump issued an emergency declaration for parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. To all our folks down south, stay safe. Meanwhile, since you heard about it in the news, 2 deputy sheriffs were ambushed near the Blue Line train station in Compton, California. Surveillance video shows a person walking up to the deputy's car, pointing a gun and shooting them. And today, there's disturbing new video that shows the 31-year-old deputy tending to her partner, who's 24 years old, as she hides them both behind a column after a man fired that gun at the 2 LA County Sheriff's deputies while they sat in their police cruiser. The shocking video emerged Monday night as the reward for information leading to the shooter climbed from $100,000 to $175,000. LA Sheriff Alex Villanueva says it's too soon to discuss anything specific in public, but says the investigation into the shooting of 2 deputies in Compton is coming into focus. Her motherly instincts, God bless her, are taking over, and she's on the lookout for a possible return of the suspect, and she's calling for help, so she went above and beyond the call of duty. Villanueva said she applied a tourniquet to her partner's arm to stop the bleeding. And as she called for help, it was difficult to hear because the female deputy was shot through the jaw. The sheriff said there was no contact made between the shooter and deputies before the shots were fired. And the LA County Sheriff challenged LA Lakers star LeBron James to match $175,000 in reward money being offered for information on the gunman. Whew. Man, our prayers go out to the healing and full-on recovery for those deputies. I think in our current battle against police abuse, perhaps this does not have its place. We don't need this. This from the Chicago Defender. President Trump threatened to have the Department of Education cut federal funding if schools use the 1619 Project as an educational resource. He tweeted in response to another user who stated that California schools were using the 1619 Project in some of their curriculum. The Department of Education is looking at this, and if so, they will not receive funds. There's also legislation proposed by conservatives called the Saving the American History Act of 2020, introduced by Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. It looks to block funding to public schools that teach the 1619 Project. He previously referred to slavery as a necessary evil upon which the Union was built, calling the project left-wing propaganda. He believes that the 1619 Project is anti-American and should not benefit from federal tax dollars. The entire premise of the New York Times factually, historically flawed 1619 Project is that America is at root a systemically racist country to the core and irredeemable. I reject that root and branch, said Tom Cotton. He said that to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. They just want to deny it. Amsterdam News out of New York City is reporting that there's a saying in the entertainment industry that highlights the resilience of the artist. That saying is, yep, you guessed it, the show must go on. And for the 58th New York Film Festival, that's exactly what's going to happen from September 17th to October 11th. The film festival will begin 1 week earlier than usual in order to expand access to the festival via drive-in screenings. Yes, I went to one of those here out here in California. It was really, really cool out there on the parking lot of the Rose Bowl. Opening night is September 17th. The centerpiece screening is September 26th. And the closing night selection will screen October 10th. We'll put the website up for the New York Film Festival at beachcityradio.com, beachcityradio.com. There was a lot of hype leading up to the September 13th versus battle between veteran R&B legends Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight. There was competition before the competition, with both legends, who's also known for their cooking abilities, whipping up something in the kitchen and showing it off on Instagram. And by the time the ladies appeared together at the Fillmore in Philadelphia, fans were ready and waiting to hear their favorite songs by their favorite legends. The evening began with Gladys and Patti reminiscing like the two old friends that they are. Now, this versus event was epic, attracting hundreds of thousands of viewers, creating a buzz that's still resonating today. People trying to find out who won. Now, for me, the notion of who won is superfluous because it was just a rich, feel-good moment for the culture. Meanwhile, over in Rochester, New York, the mayor of Rochester relieved the city's police chief of his duties on Monday, ahead of the chief's retirement this month, citing a preliminary review into the death of Daniel Prude, a Black man with mental health issues who died after being put in a spit hood and restrained by officers in March. Police Chief LaRon Singletary was relieved of his duties by the Mayor Lovely Warren. Yes, that's her name, Mayor Lovely Warren. And Warren said during a news conference that she had ordered the internal review into Prude's death and that the public should have been made aware of his death before September, when his family released body camera video. This initial look has shown that we have a pervasive problem in the Rochester Police Department, one that views everything through the eyes of the badge and not the citizens we serve. It shows that Mr. Prude's death was not taken as seriously as it should have been by those who reviewed the case throughout city government and at every level. She also relieved the city attorney and her personal communications director. They were relieved for failure to act, inform, and follow policy and procedures. On this day in history, the Birmingham church bombing occurred on September 15th, 1963. A bomb exploded on Sunday morning at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. It's a black church in that great city. 4 young girls were killed, and outrage over the incident and violent clashes between protesters and police followed, and that helped draw national attention to the hard-fought and often dangerous struggle for civil rights for black people. Whew. Man, widespread protests, systemic racism, fires, hurricanes, pandemic. This world is gone mad and got us on lockdown. Those of us who have lived within our wanderlust, we're stuck. Can't travel, or can we? Are we locked down? Like, for real? Can't go to point A to point B? Our global access is limited. Is it limited now to the screens of our digital devices? What is up with global travel? That's our conversation this morning. So we're just going to try to welcome, let's see if she's there, Amira Hendrickson, CEO of Azuri Tours and Travel. She's coming to the coffee table. Let's talk about our global travel. I see her there. Let's see. Good morning, Amira. How are you today?
Greetings. Good morning, Greg. I'm fine. How are you?
Doing all right. Let me just make one quick adjustment so I can hear you properly. And how's your family, everybody, in this COVID environment? How are you holding up?
Everyone is fine. We're doing the best we can, just dealing with the situation.
Yes, that's right. That's right. All right. So, Amira, you are, first of all, let's just tell the people what you do at Azuri Tours and Travel, and let's chat about that for a minute. What is Azuri Tours and Travel?
Azuri Tours and Travel is my business that I've been running for over 20 years. Greg, I don't know if you want to go back and date our relations, but when Greg was at the radio station, I was privileged to take Carl Nelson in the front page in 1999 to Africa. And we traveled consecutively for about 12 years until Carl left. So we did north, south, east, and west, and we just had a good time. Every year we went into Africa. We did a goodwill mission because Stevie's main thing was that we had to do something for the people. So depending on where we would go, based on their needs, we would either take supplies for the children. In some cases, we found out that it was better if we bought the merchandise when we got there. For example, for South Africa, when we did the children at the orphanage, we went out to the stores and we bought washers and dryers, and we installed them in the actual place, so that way we know when we left that the children actually had the things that we did. And then, just depending, when we went to different other orphanage, we would install netting over the beds, because a lot of children, they have malaria because they don't have any netting over their beds. So that's what we've been doing ever since I started the business. And we've just branched out. We do more than Africa. We do the global world. So it's a growing thing right now. Of course, we're suffering because of COVID, but I'm sure everything will go back to normal. It's just going to take some while.
All right, let's chat about that for a minute. I mean, we love to travel, and I know that people will be interested who will tune in today, and even in the post, on demand. They're getting antsy. We want to travel. We want to travel. We want to travel. In your expert opinion, what are you seeing now with are you able to project when we will be able to travel? What do you think?
I feel very comfortable that we will be able to travel. For sure in 21. Now, there are some countries. I have 51 countries on the continent of Africa, and some of them are already open. But my thing is, I want to make sure that you're safe. And in traveling, I can tell you, let me preference everything by saying that regardless of where you go, you're going to have that COVID-19 clearance. If you find a country that's telling you that you don't have to have that clearance, that should be a red flag.
Mm-hmm. Now, where do you get that?
You get that you have to go to your doctor. and it has to be on medical stationary, and it has to say that you are negative. They're not going to take anything that's positive. Now, if you aren't able to get that once you arrive at whatever country is there, they're going to test you. So you're going to have to do some research because on, say, if we take the continent of Africa, each country has a right and they have set up their own requirements for entry and departing. So therefore, you may find yourself having to be quarantined for a number of days.
Hmm.
It just all depends on where you go. I can tell you, I got an email from Ghana. And Ghana, for instance, they're saying, well, we're open, Amir, we're ready for business, but they have a lot of restrictions. They have a lot of requirements. And basically, I could just tell you, as I said, you have to have that certificate. If you don't have that certificate, they're going to make you take a test for that COVID-19. And then they have same thing. You have to wear your mask. You have to wear your mask all the while that you're there. Some countries are restricting the number of your group capacity in order to accommodate you. Say, for instance, you may travel with a group that's 25 or more, or some hotels are only going to be able to take maybe 20. Some restaurants can only sit maybe 10 at a time. So you're going to have to be able to check and be very thorough with whoever's arranging your travel information, to know what those specific requirements are for those countries.
Let me ask you a question about that, though. So, all right. So, wow. I mean, some countries restricting the capacity of their tour groups. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've rolled over there, with 50 deep. Those days are over, huh?
For right now, you can remember we've had sometimes 80 or 90, come from the station, and we just did what we needed to do. But because of COVID, they have the social distancing. Every country is abiding by the social distancing. And right now, the United States is not looking too good because, they feel that we've digressed. We've gone back. Yeah. And so you'll see for a while, like still in Europe, they wouldn't even accept any U.S. travelers because of that. So, we're affected. It's worldwide and everything. So we're not looked upon as, okay, if you're coming from the United States, we know that you're fine. That doesn't work anymore.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about Ghana for a minute, right? Okay, so they're open with lots of restrictions and requirements. And I guess the real question I'd like to ask is when you fly over, okay, so how long is the quarantine? Because I know I have a friend who he actually lives in Kenya. He's from here, but he lives in Kenya. And when he went home to Kenya the last time, because he flies back and forth, but the last time he went home to Kenya, I recall him saying he had to be on a 7-day or 10-day quarantine before he was able to get out and about into his house.
That's true. Each country sets up their own number of days if you have to be quarantined. And some countries, they'll allow you to be quarantined in a hotel. But if it's not a government hotel, you're going to have to pay for half of that time that you're there. So like I said, I have a list of about 51 different countries there, and it could go anywhere from 24 hours to 7 days to 14 days. It just depends on the government and the Department of Health. But you mentioned Kenya, and I want to be able to say this about Kenya because I'm proud of them. We have what's called a safer tourism seal, and your audience can go on the website, and what it does, it's global, but it lists all of the countries, all of the hotels, and what they have done to improve their country since COVID came into being. Kenya is the first country in Africa to receive a certification for all of its efforts and hard work. Their government went beyond what they needed to do as far as cleansing and sterilizing and stuff. For a while when you went to Africa, they couldn't accommodate people with special needs. Well, they went back and they built ramps and different things. Their sterilization, they even have like a list of how many times they sterile their hotels from the airport when you get on the bus. So Kenya really stuck out, and they got their first certificate from the continent for the work that they've done.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's the website where we can see these list of countries?
It's called Safer Tourism Seal, SEAL.com. You can also go to the CDC, the Center Disease Control. They also have a website, and it lists the requirements that each country is supposed to take, recommended requirement for each country to take to ensure that they are providing the safe accommodations for their visitors coming in.
Mm-hmm. I saw a arts and culture trip being put together by, I believe that was the Atlanta Black Theater organization. And by the way, they're having they're having the festival coming up that's going to be virtual. They're going to be showing, I think it starts later on this week, and we'll post that too at beachcityradio.com. But they're going with the arts and culture mission out there to Ghana. And I'm curious, will they be able, they'll be fine when they go in summer of 2021, you think?
I think 2021 is just the best time for anyone. Anyone trying to get over there this year, in my personal opinion, I would not go. I would give the countries time to recoup. You got to remember, a lot of sites were closed down, a lot of hotels were closed, restaurants were closed down. So these countries need time to get on board, plus make all of the changes that they need to make. So I think 21 would be the best time where you would feel more at home, more relaxed, more safer, more comfortable. I'm not saying that you can't go in 2020. I'm just saying, in my opinion, you need to wait.
Mm-hmm. So I know that we have friends that want to go to Africa with me, and I know I've talked to you about pulling together a trip for Beach City Radio and Afro Pop Radio. Let's start going to Africa. You know, one of my friends says, okay, they want to do Senegal in February. Okay. Safe?
I would say so. And I say that because Senegal is now open. And they're open. And again, you have to have that COVID-19 certificate. And if you don't have it, then, you know, you're going to have to take that exam. In Senegal, when you go on the plane, they have what it's called a public health passenger locator, and you're going to have to fill it out. And all that is just the basic information that tells where you're staying, you know, the hotels, the countries, how long you're going to be there, emergency contact. You know, when you fly, normally they would pass out these little cards when you land, when the airplane. It's same thing, but now they change it to the public health passenger information. So when you see that, don't become alarmed. It's basically the same thing.
Same thing.
They changed it. And you can download it. Like, for instance, if you want to go to Senegal, you can go ahead and download it, fill it out, make you a couple copies, and take it with you so you have it ready. So when you ask for it, you're going to have to produce it. But for Senegal, again, we would need to check, Greg, and ask, because are they going to allow large congregations of people? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it going to be okay if we have thousands of people there? You know, so those are the main things. We have to stay in contact with the government and the Department of Health to make sure that they're going to approve it. If it's not going to be sanctioned, you can't go, or you can't do that aspect of the trip.
All right. Now, you know, I know a lot of people are really, you know, they're anxious. They want to use that passport. They want to get out there because this is what they do. They want to get these melanated passports, want to move around, don't they? You know, and so what would you say to the people to, you know, kind of assuage their, I mean, you know, they're anxious right now. So, well, you know, it's just really all about keeping calm and doing the work that is required, isn't it?
Well, I would say so.
Mm.
Again, I would say depending on who's going to take you to Africa, whether you're going to book your own tour or if you're going with a travel agent or something, do your homework. And you can go to every country has a website. Find out what they're doing. Find out what the requirements are. Find
Mm-hmm.
out what they expect you to have in hand. Because, like for instance, if you go over there and you have to take a COVID-19 test, you're going to have to pay for that. And they can charge you anywhere. I see it anywhere from $50 to $250 US dollars. So those are the kind of things you need to know. You need to know if I'm going over there and I have, say, 10 people, family, just 10 people, I'm going over there. You need to make sure you know what hotel you're staying in. What are the safety and health rules that hotel is doing? Are they sterilizing? How often do they sterilize a day? When I say sterilize, are they wiping down the elevators, the railings? Are there people required to wash their hands? Your bathrooms. There are some places now that they won't even bring linen into your hotel room. They'll sit it outside your door because they don't want to come into your hotel room. So you have to be careful. You have to know where you're going. And once you decide where you're going, check on those places. For instance, we had a group going to Paris and they wanted to go to the Eiffel Tower. Well, they're only taking 10 people up at a time when they decide to let the United States land there again.
Wow.
So when you go out to eat, you got to make sure that restaurant had they met all the criteria of the government.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying, okay, we've concentrated on Africa because that is our center here. We are unapologetically Afrocentric, but even those that want to go to Europe, so I can't go to Paris. Paris not open to me yet.
No, let me tell you, I had a group. We were supposed to go March of this year. I had 53 people. I'm in the process now of trying to get refunds for these people because Paris, Europe doesn't want to have anything to do with U.S. citizens right now. And I can understand how they feel. It's been devastating. That's what people have to remember. This is global. So like restaurants that we were using have closed down. So, they can't, just like the restaurants here, you can't pay your staff if you don't have any money coming in. So everyone has to go back. They have to recoup. They have to get themselves ready for the new norm, which is going to be more security as far as health-wise and stuff. So, no, it's a lot. We were going to go on.
Yeah, it's interesting I know it's difficult to get refunds because I was going to go just to Las Vegas to the NAB convention and was really looking forward to it. Had my little hotel, had my flight from Long Beach to Vegas, the 45-minute flight or however long it is. And man, it took a long time to gain a refund when COVID hit. Now I can imagine that's got to be a nightmare, for international travel. Now, what would you say? There's probably somebody that might be looking at this now who's still struggling with that. That had travel plans. It was their big, trip that they've been saving for, and now it's happening, and now they're just struggling to get a refund. How is that working in the industry?
It's a nightmare for us because, even though we want to be able to say we're going to give you a refund, even though we push getting travelers insurance. Traveling insurance companies have never experienced COVID. So when you get that insurance, some insurance companies will not pay because they're saying we never covered for COVID. So I have insurance companies that are now going back, rewriting their policies to include COVID, because they've never experienced it before. So, when you send your money out of the country, as I was saying, and you've paid for restaurants or you've paid to go to all these different sites, if they're closed down, how are you going to get your money back?
Right.
So the only saving grace we have in this industry is the airlines. And, the government bailed out the airlines, and they will continue bailing them out, even though some airlines may have closed, but they've been, or merged into others. But it's the airlines that, seem to be able to give us a refund, and you just have to wait your turn. Because every
Mm-hmm.
time you pick up the paper, you'll see it's millions that the airlines are losing. So I think it's coming. And to those people, if you talk to your agency, you're calling your insurance company and stuff, and they're saying no. I mean, that's the reality, because some insurances are saying, hey, if I paid out everybody who put a claim in for COVID, we would be bankrupt.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So, so are they offering things like, are they deferring the travel? So like if I bought a big old giant package, can they postpone it till next year or whenever we get out of COVID?
Well, some are. Let me give you an example. I had a group that was going to Australia
Hmm.
and New Zealand. And what happened was we postponed the trip. After we postponed the trip, the borders closed. But once the borders closed, we were stuck. And it was only through the grace of God that we were able to get our money back. But that's what happens. A lot of times a country may be open, but if the borders are closed, how are you going to complete your trip?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you got to think about. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that because I do have friends who are, over there, or they have relatives that were in the middle of their trip and COVID hit and now they're stuck. They've been in, African countries for months now trying to get back.
Right. And I tell you, I heard one of the prime ministers that was on it's called Rebuilding Travel. And he was saying that the United States has given Senegal $700,000 just to help to get some of the U.S. citizens back from different countries in Africa. So people don't believe it unless you actually, like yourself, know someone who knows that they're stuck over there. So how far is your money going?
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh man, this is really, really, really something. I wonder, beforehand, everybody, we talk about international travel because I saw pre-COVID, I saw this statistic that really struck me, and they were saying that the number one demographic of global travelers in the United States were African Americans. And it was like, we like to get our passports and go,
Yeah.
and now, we tend to be a little, tentative when we're going in new spaces like, foreign countries and all of that. And I feel like, maybe this new paradigm has got us a little more tentative. But hey, I feel like after we get through this, it's going to be all right. Wouldn't you think so? Wouldn't you encourage people after we get out of COVID to continue their global wanderlust?
I think it's going to be better because, prior to COVID, a lot of times you would go to different countries and the sanitation wasn't up to par or what we thought it should be. So, we were a little disappointed about that. But now with all of the changes and the government mandating these changes, I think it'll be even better. I think you'll be pleased with the accommodations. I think you'll be pleased when you go out on some of these safaris. Sometimes you go on a safari and you find yourself, you got to use a little outhouse or something to that nature and stuff. So all of that is being worked on. All of that is being improved. So I think for Africa, I'll just say, and other countries, third world, like Cuba and different places like that, Brazil is struggling. They're really struggling. But once they come through it, it'll be much better, much, much better.
Mm-hmm. Now, generally speaking, so what is the safest country on the continent to travel to? What would be so? I hear like we look at South Africa as an example. I saw at one point people were praising how they handled the COVID pandemic, and then on the other hand, I see other reports that say, "Oh, it's out of control and everything." What's the safest?
Well, let me say about South Africa, as we speak today, unless something happened within the last 4 days, South Africa is closed.
Mm-hmm.
They're struggling with the pandemic and the COVID. I
Yeah.
think the safest place, period, was Rwanda in
Mm-hmm.
terms of safety, just to go there to travel, Rwanda. But as far as if you're dealing with the COVID, I would say West Africa. And of course, I told you about Kenya.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
Well, we had we covered a story last week. We had people from South Africa on this show, and they were saying that the government's response to COVID was the level 5, where they just basically had to be in their house, and they felt pretty safe. It's like you could get police would approach you if you're out on the streets, unless you're going to the grocery store or something like that. So it's a very stringent, stay at home policy, but they felt like that was what was keeping them safer and keeping their numbers down. But it's, you're probably right. It's because they're struggling.
yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, it's one thing. That's why I'm saying to go and visit. What are you going to do? Stay in the house? A lot of countries, they have curfews from 7 p.m. until 7 the next morning. You can't go out. You can't be on the streets. And so if you go in, I just wanted to say this too. If you go into the U.S. travel advisory website, they have what they call a level of security. And so, for instance, now, we know that they're always going to make things worse than what it is. But like, for instance, they have a travel advisory level. So if you put in the country that you're interested in, they have 4 levels. Level 1 is normal. Level 2 is you could travel there, but be very cautious about, awareness of where you are. And, level 3 is reconsider travel. And level 4 is don't travel. So it was funny because they have Senegal as level 3. Consider travel. So, again, you can't always go by what they say, So, but I'm just saying, if people want to travel, and that's for global, worldwide, you can go put in your country that you desire to travel and see what the government is saying.
What's in your awesome career, what is your favorite country that you have traveled to? You've been to all of them, I know, but
and you know what? There's certain things about each country. Like when we first started going, I think we went to Ghana like 3 years in a row. And then we went to Senegal. So for the history, nothing can surpass Ghana, because that is the history there. Then once you get past that, and of course it's 7-9 hours, and it's English is the official language and so forth. So the communication is real good. But once you start branching out, I have to be honest and say Kenya and Tanzania, because of the tourism and everything that's there and the wildlife. You can't beat it. If you want to go on a safari, you need to go to Tanzania or Kenya. That has the best wildlife. East Africa. That's what they're known for. That's what they sell. If you want to I would say, if you want to go to a country where you feel like you're almost in California, South Africa. The technology is there. Every country you could think of is there. And you just got to give it to them. They got it. I was shocked when I went to South Africa and I saw blacks owning a percentage in gold mines, owning their own taxi cab companies, owning their own bus companies and stuff. I was proud, but I was surprised because I'm like, well, what happened to us? A little bit. But I mean, they had a struggle, but and the struggle is real. The racism is still there, but I admire them. And then, when you go to North Africa, which people don't want to admit, when you go to Egypt, you got your pyramids, you got your history there, Morocco and stuff. I think each country is unique in that it gives you something. So I used to say, I think Kenya and Tanzania and Ghana. But when I sit back, I got a little bit of knowledge from every country that I went to, and I love it.
All right. So now let's see. If we were now, here it is, it's September 15th, So if we began to plan for an experience to Africa for 2021, when would be the best time to travel in 2021? And what do you think you don't have to lock yourself in, but just give me an estimate, a guesstimation of the pricing.
Where do you want to go? That has a lot to do with it.
Okay, let's say Tanzania. So I want to go to, let's do this. I want to go to Kenya.
Okay, Kenya and Tanzania is right next to each other. So you would pick the farthest place to go. Airline, flying there, it's about 20 hours on the plane. However, so that pushes, just the airline itself pushes your price up because of the cost to get there. But I would say that anywhere between $4,000 to $5,000, including air, hotel, that would be your package. And again, that's using what I call 4-star hotels, where available. And that would be 10 days, But as far as when, because Kenya is there, they're number one, so they're ready. So I would say that, we would have to decide where we want to go. And then once we do that, we send that to our ground operators over there. Then we run it by, because, everyone's going to say, oh, yeah, we're ready and this, that. If you don't have that seal that shows that you have done, that your hotels and the hotels that we are using have met the standards, then we won't use those hotels. So, I mean, it's a little more work, Greg, but I think it's worth it because you could be at peace. You don't have to, you don't have to worry. Not like, for instance, in Kenya, when you are on the buses and you're touring, they have people that come on that bus. Every time we get off, they wipe it down. Every time we get on, they wipe it down. So it's things like that they've done, and they're still doing to improve, even though they're rated number one for the certificate for safer tourism. They're still improving.
So safer tourism, that's all important to make sure that these places have their certificate in place. That's right. That's really, really something. All right. So let me ask you, what about in this hemisphere? So the little short trips down to Mexico and Cabo and all these kinds of places.
Well, I mean, it's the same. Cabo, you still have to be careful. People are still going down there, of course, because we're right next door to them and they're still traveling and everything. But I don't care where you go. You have to make sure that they are sterilizing and doing what they're supposed to do. Even when you go to Las Vegas, the hotels, look how we shut down Las Vegas. Then they they opened up for now, like the casinos. They had to rearrange the casinos. Now, I'll tell you personally, I like it better. I didn't like people sitting on top of me when I was gambling. Right. So you got your little individual, you know what I'm saying? You got to make the best of it. I like the individual, booths now and stuff, the limited number of people. So, it just all depends on where you go. And like I said, even Mexico, you still got to check and make sure, that they are following the health and the safety procedures that they need to be doing. But you can travel, to Mexico. It's okay.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what's up. I really appreciate this conversation, because now as we kind of think forward, what are we going to do? I personally just can't wait till we get to where we're able to travel relatively worry-free across the world over to Africa. I mean, we were doing trips there to the Cape Town Jazz Festival, and we're looking at some trips to Kenya, Mombasa, Kenya, and then wanted to go into Ghana. Been invited there a few times. Been talking to some folks about Senegal and this, and just want to get an idea of how we can look forward and make those things a reality. And then also to make our potential travelers, comfortable, because let me ask you this, if you still have this, if you get this sense too, sometimes when you're basically telling the people about Africa, they're so, conditioned to, okay, I want to go to Europe and everything. And you really have to sell Africa, because Africa they show us this really bad, imagery of Africa from time to time, and that's all the information that we get. They don't see the cosmopolitan areas. They don't see the richness, the history, and all of that. Do you find that to be true in your dealings?
It is, Greg. And when I first started doing Africa, I was very disappointed that more white folks were going to Africa and telling me about my country. I was a little insulted, but it gave me the incentive to say, no, you're not going to tell me because I can't tell you about Europe. So you're not going to be able to tell me. So then when we started, doing Africa, we had to have meetings because, and I'm not trying to say that we were ignorant, but we didn't know. So people would say, Amira, are we going to land in the airport? Yes. Were you think going to land out in a dirt road or something? They didn't know. They didn't know that we had 4- and 5-star hotels, and we have people who drive around in Mercedes, and wealthy people. They didn't know. So it was a learning experience, but I tell you, I loved every minute of it because that's what makes your trip good. I have to say that, you know what? Where we're going in some regions, the power may go out. So you know what? Everybody go to the 99-cent store and get you a flashlight because we don't stop moving because the power goes out. So you make it that way and you present it. So you hope that doesn't happen to yourself. But if it does happen, you don't have people screaming and hollering. Sometimes we get a little dramatic, But if you prepare them right, you tell them how to pack. I've been taking Lysol wipes ever since I was traveling. I didn't know nothing about a COVID. But that's how you travel. You travel. Take your wipes, take your this, take you that. And, I used to tell ladies all the time, leave them high heels at home.
Yes.
So if you some walking shoes and be comfortable. So if you prepare your group, I tell you, it makes all the difference in the world. So they're ready.
I learned that too in organizing my trips down to South Africa. And I got to tell you something. I think it's interesting because the number one comment that I've always gotten from my particular groups was, man, Greg, they don't show us this Africa. They look and they're already expecting the grass huts and, there's that out in the countryside, but these beautiful cities and everybody looks like us, and, but it is the challenge that, like you say, I have been a little insulted, but more so with African Americans who have the wherewithal to make the trip, but their number one priority is to go to Europe. They not thinking about Africa. I want to go to Europe.
Yeah, they do. And it's sad that they feel that way. But one thing about it, Greg, if you get them on a trip and it's a good trip, you got them.
Yeah.
You got them because they can identify, and to me, the worst thing that a travel agent can do to a disservice, I should say, to Africa is to book your group in 1- and 2-star hotels when there are 3, 4, and 5 hotels. Give our people the best experience that they can afford for that dollar. Don't always be trying to make $1 off of them. And then say, oh, well, we're going to this hotel. And then you tell the tour, don't let them see the other hotels or drive this way so they don't know that you have beautiful hotels. That's the worst thing. That's a crime, to me, that a travel agent can do to any Black group going to Africa. Show them the beauty. Don't worry about if you're making all your money on this trip. Who knows? Next year, they may book again. You know what I'm saying? But if you take them there and they're not happy, they're not going to want to come back. And we have money. Black folks here got money. And
they have money, yes. It's interesting. I like to tell the story of my good friend. This couple, She wanted to go to Africa with me. She was ready. She just planned. But her husband, I ain't going to Africa. I ain't going to. I mean, he was just adamant about it. But he brought her to one of the meetings. You know, like you say, you got to have the information meetings and everything. And when I was done, he was ready to go. He had the best time when we went over there to Africa. And still to this day, it's like, yo, when we going back? Let's go. You know, that's really a good thing. And, you know, you just dispel these myths. We hear at Hannibal Media Group, Dream Creator Studio, one of our mantras is to dispel the myths about Africa, because we are so ill-informed about, you know, what you're going to see when you travel to Africa. It's crazy how we have been fed this image of the continent that just isn't.
Yeah. And Greg, I got to be honest with you. In the meetings, you have to tell them you are a guest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you have to act like a guest. You don't demand and disrespect people here. Don't do it there.
Yeah.
Don't feel that you're better than your brother and sister, and don't have that attitude, because you're not. And if you think you're better, go downtown and look at all them homeless people. So don't be looking out the window on the bus and, oh, they're laying on the floor. Oh, they don't have any furniture. Oh, they're sleeping there. Go downtown. You'll see the same thing down there. So if anything, you got to have that. I'm coming home. I understand. And just enjoy it, but don't criticize, because, you know, we have the same problems here that they have there. So.
Yeah. And then too, you know, there's different customs in society, you know, things that I think you miss the opportunity when you come with that holier than thou, what do they call it, the ugly American attitude. Right. You know, you miss it if you come, you know, with that. You know, I will tell a story about a traveler who, I don't know, for some reason could not understand the money exchange. And got into an argument with the front desk. I had to go solve it. And, you know, it was an argument over an amount of money they were charged for room service. And when it was all said and done, we argued over like $3 American dollars.
Yeah.
You know, had they opened their mind, they would have been aware.
Yeah. And those are the kind of things, like I said, you have to, in those meetings, you have to go, I go from the dollar. I don't leave anything unturned, because it's always going to be we have the tendency, we listen, but we don't hear. So when you get there, I didn't hear you say that, or I didn't know that, or whatever. So you have to reinforce those things. You have to let them know there's culture, there's different in everything, you know. So don't nickel and dime them. If you know you can't go downtown and buy a dress for $2, so why you want to give them $2?
Right.
You at least give a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that, you know, you have to make sure that people understand and you know, are willing to do. It's just education, I think. You know, I think it's just education.
All right. What's your next big trip?
Well, I tell you, after this, I got to start rebooking folks that couldn't travel, you know, this year. So once I get, you know, settled with the rebooking, then, you know, I can look for 21, 22. I mean, I have some groups, they're saying, you know what, Amira, let's just relax. They don't want to go back until 22. And that's okay. Whatever they want to do, you know, I'll work with them. So I don't know. I don't have anything, you know, that I know definitely.
All right. Well, Amira, I'm looking forward to working with you to create some trips around Beach City Radio and Afropop Radio, and let's just get some groups together here. We'll keep in touch with you and make sure that you know, we have our eye on the continent of Africa, what's safe. And man, I mean, we are in really unprecedented time, and I know that people are antsy with their passports. I mean, I've been seeing the African American global travel movement is really robust, and they really want to get out there. But man, we can't do it right now. But let them lift this COVID. We're back on it.
Yes, we are. We are.
Yes. All right. Very good. So, Amira, how can we get a hold of you?
Well, our website is azuritours.travel.com. Our email is azuritours@yahoo.com. And our office number is 310-538-5800. If you have questions, feel free, email me. Greg, I look forward to working with you and doing things to get groups together. But in the
Yes.
meanwhile, the main thing, I just want people to feel comfortable in knowing that it's going to turn around and we'll be able to travel. If not Africa, just global, anywhere. It doesn't always have to be Africa, although we love Africa though. But just know that you can travel.
So that's the light is at the end of the tunnel, y'all, and keep your passports ready, and there it is. Let me ask you: do you think prices will come down or how do you think the pricing will fluctuate in any type of travel? Because I'm looking at, if I contrast the category of housing, I feel like this is just me, and I'm not a financial expert, but I do think that, rents and stuff will come down because, we've seen just a crash and we got to get people off the streets and all of that. Do you think our travel will become cheaper?
I think that it probably will reflect 2019 prices as opposed to going, because each year, travel goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what destination you choose and how hard they were hit, some are going to have to come down. Some of those prices are going to have to come down because 2019 was not a cheap year to travel. So I would say that just depending on where it is, I think that it will come down. I don't think it'll go up. It'll be more stabilized to 2019, if anything, but I don't see it going up. Not right now.
Best airline to travel on?
I would say Emirates, but
right? Emirates is the bomb.
Kenya. And I just want to say real quickly, though, I went back to New Jersey in July, flew back out here in August. United Airlines, I was elbow to elbow. So,
wow.
Yeah. So again, you got to see all airlines are not participating and not selling that middle seat. So they're selling it. Just all depends. I know Delta, I said they're still going to do it until I think the end of September. But, once again, we just have to watch and see.
All right. There it is, our global travel, y'all. Keep your eye on the world. It's going to be all right. Yes. Amira Hendrickson, thank you so much for coming with us. AzuriToursandTravel.com. This is Coffee Conversations with Greg J. You can see this on demand at Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com, or on our Facebook page, Coffee Conversations with Greg J, Kalimbasong Coffee Company, and also over on YouTube. We began to stream this live over into YouTube, and we're trying to grow our audience on that platform as well. Tell a friend, like us, watch us, share us. We're just trying to have compelling conversations with our lifestyle, culturally relevant. That's what we want to do. On Thursday, we're coming back with Coffee Conversations with Greg J, and we're going to have a theological analysis of in the political news, we're hearing this term evangelical Christians, and we see in the social media chatter that hey, maybe the evangelical Christians, is this a different Christianity than the Black church? Is the Black church, what's the Black church's role in this whole, social justice fight that we are in? And we're going to have a scholar. We're going to have a scholarly analysis. Going to take the covers off, and just, really kind of examine Christianity, evangelicals, and the Black church, and just, we're going to get deep, and I've reached out to one of the most learned brothers I know in this area, and that's Dr. Oscar Owens. He's going to come and just break it down for us so that we can have an understanding and really scientifically, theologically examine the space that we're in these days and time. I see you, Desiree Jones. Yes, see you in Africa. You know it. Dr. Desiree Tillman Jones, she's the bomb. And yeah, okay. All right, y'all. So, hey, there it is. Another Coffee Conversations with Greg J in the can. And I just want to leave you with this. Always remember to love one another. Love one another. Oh, yeah. Hey, Dream Creator Studio is participating in, what is this called? Their super producer?
Taste of Downtown Long Beach.
The Taste of Downtown Long Beach. That is on Thursday or Friday?
On Friday.
This Friday. And we're having a film festival, a mini film festival. We have virtual backyard barbecue. So look, just keep locked into our social media platforms to find out what we're doing over there at the Dream Creator Studio in the beautiful city of Long Beach, California. We did want to shout that out. And then before I leave us, thank you all so much for participating in the Los Angeles Black Business Expo last Saturday. We had George Frazier on last Thursday here, Coffee Conversations, and then the virtual Black Business Expo was really, really cool in this new paradigm that we're in. And we were able to advance, give people opportunity to get exposure. We're able to see what kinds of businesses are out there in the local area and also get great business tips and inspiration. So that's what we're doing. We're informing, we're innovative, and we're giving you inspiration. I know it's a lot. Get at it. BeachCityRadio.com, Coffee Conversations. And like I said, love one another. Peace and blessings.